I have been fascinated with Ubisoft Assassin's Creed situation. Mostly so everything pertaining to Yasuke. I know they just delayed it till, I believe, sometime in February, saying they're going to polish it. I saw some of the trailers and it was felt a little floaty, didn't feel impactful. I don't know how much of that is true. Though, again, I'm more concerned with the whole everything involving Yasuke. It's just utterly fascinating. Things going on with that. I did a little bit of reading about Yasuke before, Ubisoft, probably years before, probably like 4 years ago. But everything I'm hearing now today, again, we got two. I wouldn't even say camps. It's the two sides of the fence. You got one neighbor who's screaming, Yasuke wasn't a samurai. I guess DEI. Forgot exactly what it stands for, but basically, pushing pushing diversity for the sake of pushing diversity. We get the other side of the fence where they're saying, "Oh, you're just racist." Now I can't say that I'm on the middle of the fence. Again, I think I'm more of like a regular person where I just have different opinions depending on what the subject is. And this particular subject, I'm not going to, everyone doesn't like the idea of Yasuke being in the game. I'm not going to call racist, right? I don't think I've heard anyone yet like speak their mind in a way that didn't make me think that there might be some racial undertones. Though, I guess if someone was to say, hey, I'm against Yasuke being in the game, none of the other games had a historical playable character. I'd prefer if they just kind of stick with, leading to the fantasy elements and just go that route, not try to, do a pseudo fake kind of historical Assassin's Creed character, right? Because Assassin's Creed, I mean, let's be real, it's fantasy, low fantasy. I played through Odyssey and they really pushed the bill. I think you're doing magic at some point in the game, teleporting. So, from that standpoint, I get it. But it quickly, I wouldn't say devolve, but it quickly gets terminal velocity. This argument about Yasuke being in the game. And it goes into, hey, he wasn't really a samurai. He was just a sword bearer. He was this, he was that. I've heard William be brought up. The first English samurai, the blue-eyed samurai, everything. They've called him all sorts of things. I have thoughts. First of all, I'm not a Yasuke expert by any means, but I've read and heard that he was a part of the Bushi class, which was a warrior class in Japan at that time, that he did fight, or at least, there's plausible evidence that he fought, in battles under Oda Nobunaga's flag. Of course, there is no concrete evidence other than that he was there. There are some writings, some mentions, but Oda ultimately did lose that war, and I'm pretty sure some of the other guys, they really disliked his, I guess what you want to say, progressiveness, like how he was trying to adopt new tactics, religion, using firearms and such. I just, from my read and people really didn't like that he was not traditional. So it makes sense that there's not a record on Yasuke, because why would there be? And I'm going to bring this up, even though I personally think they have nothing to do with each other. William and Yasuke, two different eras. They came in at different circumstances. But, I'm just going to use him as an example. Because William, I try features on him, the first things that come up, hey, the legendary samurai, first English samurai, et cetera, et cetera. But when you read into his story, it's really not what they make it out to be. And this is not, I'm not trying to be a history channel or anything like that. So I'm going to just go over real brief and get to the point. They say that he was pretty much trapped there because he knew how to build ships, and he was like a diplomat for, I believe, the Dutch. And when he died, there's sayings that he was, his children were, not abandoned, but exiled from Japan. I don't know how true that is, but there's some writings that kind of support it. And also, William had a wife and children in England who, kind of to a point said, "You know what? They'll be okay," because apparently he had concubines and a lot of wealth there in Japan. So my point being is that there does seem to be some bias in this Yasuke situation. All the games featuring William, no one really complained about the historical accuracy of it. And for me personally, it doesn't bother me. At the end of the day, I kind of just want to play a cool game. But I do hate how it seems like, okay, now Ubisoft, by all means, I'm not defending Ubisoft at all. Don't get me wrong with it. They had some blunders. The whole rap music with Yasuke, that was bad. that was just awkward watching that music kick in. Very totally deaf for kind of game they're making. It's I've seen other mediums do it and it works. And the theme, like Samurai Champloo, they had like this whole kind of hip hop rap theme throughout, and they'll play that music. But what they were doing worked. They're not attempting that kind of stylization for this game, and so they just need to stop. I see also some of the historical inaccuracies, which really is, at the end of the day, will it affect game? Not yes and no, because that it just shows you that they're not trying. But how much do you really care if the hilt of your katana is not historically accurate, right? But it does show you that they're not really trying, which I think will affect other parts of the game. Though this whole being against Yasuke being is just entirely uncalled for. Again, because I think it will hurt other companies or other people in general, and developers too, trying to tell other stories. I personally, which I thought about making a video on this separate, but we seem to rehash the same themes and same cultures over and over and over again. How many games about Vikings are there? How many games about medieval knights or fantasy Europe are there? It's just tons and tons and tons. So when you see someone try to do something different, I'd really hate to see them get lambasted for it. I want them to get lambasted for the things like the rap and all of that, but the conversation seem to be people upset about having a black character in the Japan game, which I believe a lot of the West has kind of adopted as too kind of a word, but laid ownership to a lot of Asian cultures. And if it goes against anything it should be, us here in the West, we get away about it, right? Because you have William in games and no one says anything because that's what's accepting. But you have Yasuke in a game and it seems to be entirely rejected because that's not what we perceive samurai to be. So I really think it's a mistake to focus so much on the Yasuke part and trying to say, hey, he wasn't a samurai. I mean, hey, William has there's very little support, very little evidence that William ever fought in a war or a battle. He was a diplomat and he had education, things like building craft and geometry and all that made him invaluable. So it makes sense historically. But again, I'm not going to throw a fit when I see him in a game. Trying to stop the resurrection of Nobunaga. If it's cool, it's cool. But then again, if it pops up saying, hey, historically accurate. I'm like, well, I'll take it. Come on, guys. I do get the arguments for people saying, hey, when they say this is historically accurate, supposedly for Assassin's Creed, Yasuke, because there's a lot of assumptions, right? Though there is evidence support that he did fight more so than William. So that polarization between the two, again, I don't think the two have much in common with each other, other than it took place in Japan with different eras. If not, that's like comparing maybe America in the 1800s, something that happened with someone, to nowadays. Probably the same span of years or something. So really, it's just disappointing. It is utterly disappointing to see this just become a monster of a conversation, to something kind of twisted, when we really should just want a good game. Hold Ubisoft accountable for their historical inaccuracies. If again, come on, guys, it's Assassin's Creed. How historically accurate do we really want them to be or expect them to be? So, I hope this doesn't. If this does get a few people who are upset with what I'm saying, I really want to implore you to go in the comments and say something. I'll respond to you, though. I'm going to do so civilly. I'm not going to try and get into the mud with it. It's YouTube comment section. Only so much you can do. But, I'll be happy to have the conversation. And if people agree with me, sure, that's cool too. Say it in the comment section. We have an interesting conversation. But it's about all I got to say here. So if you would like or dislike, if you really just don't like the video, just utterly disagree with me, go for it. I want to hear it. I want to see it. And if you're interested in this kind of conversations about games and media in general, go ahead and subscribe. Thanks, guys, and take care.